Okay, so let's talk about press freedom because there are a couple of cases that are definitely putting that to the forefront. The first one and the most recent one is the police raid in Kansas. Now, for those who are unaware, there were a couple of potential articles that this local Kansas paper was going to run a story on. One was about a local businessman, and the other one, which I think was more the catalyst for the raid, was a story about the new police chief who's been on the job for 3 months. And there have been rumors swirling as to why he left Kansas City. The paper asked him about it, and, in such a way as to scream, "I'm guilty," he threatened that if you print it, I will sue. So, for whatever reason, maybe they discovered they didn't have enough evidence, or whatever the case may be, they did not print the story. That did not prevent the police chief from ordering a raid of the offices, taking computers and cell phones and whatnot, which now looks like could be at least a state, if not a federal, violation of their constitutional rights. Now, the one of the owners of this paper claims that it killed his mother because of the stress. She was 98 years old. So maybe it was the stress of that, or maybe it's that she's just was 98 years old, but this incident killed her. She died after this incident. So now there's questions as to whether the warrant violated the law. The police chief is sticking with this idea that the journalist violated the law first. Considering that this was a piece that they were researching on the police chief, does not bode well for him. Because just simply the optics of he's going after a newspaper simply because they could have potentially, they didn't even run a story on him, but that they could have potentially ran a story on him was enough for him to call for a raid, and I'm going to state. So, that's the first story. Obviously, it's chilling because they, because, obviously, after this happens once, even if the newspaper is shown to have been in the right and that this was unconstitutional, they still have legal fees. This is a small operation. They don't even print a daily paper, is my understanding. They produce a weekly paper because they cannot afford to produce more than that, is my understanding. So, obviously, this is not an organization that can afford to pay legal fees. But because of this story, I've heard that they gained 4,000 subscribers. Granted, it was digital subscribers, but still subscribers. They're still getting money out of this. So, that's a good thing. At least something good came out of this. But just the fact that someone thinks that, oh no, someone might print a bad story about me, I'm going to just destroy this paper. Now, first off, it doesn't say much for the police chief if that's his reasoning, because I'm sorry, if you don't want bad things printed about you, don't do bad things, maybe. So yeah, whatever was said about Kansas City must have had a ring of truth to it, because why go completely apeshit, threaten to sue, and then actually have a police raid? Now, that's story number one, which is still ongoing because, you know, obviously there's an investigation as to whether this was a legal raid. And I'm thinking that this police chief is not going to be in this job very long, because just this type of publicity for such a small town, I'm sure they're not thrilled. I'm sure this town is not thrilled that this police chief has brought this publicity onto them. There would have been less publicity on this town if it turned out that the police chief was corrupt, or whatever was the reason that he left Kansas City, whether he was corrupt or incompetent or both, or if it was something else. So that would shine less of a spotlight on this town than this story. So all he did was shine too bright of a light on this town, and I'm sure the town is going to be like, yeah, we're getting rid of you now, regardless of the outcome. But based on what I've heard, it doesn't look like things are going well for the police chief, and probably the town is going to have to pay. Now, whether it'll be enough to offset this newspaper's legal fees, I don't know. But this town is in big trouble, and it's because of the police chief, and so I'm pretty sure the police chief is going to get the boot at the earliest opportunity. So that's story number one. Story number two is more local to me. So, not that long ago, I think it was earlier this year, but anyway, one of our local papers, which is a completely online paper, completely donation dependent. I'm sure they also do ads, that they pay for ads. Well, not that they have companies pay for ads for their paper, but it's not a subscription-based service. It is a donation-based. They ask their readers to donate money. It could be, I think it's on a yearly basis that you can pay them. I'm sure they have different plans, but so a few months ago, Corey Tomczyk, who he's a piece of work, at a meeting for discussing a Community for All resolution, which was a symbolic resolution to tell people that the city of Wausau is open to everybody. And nothing says open to everybody then there has to be a debate on this, and it eventually got shot down. Because the other side said, oh, but we are already open and diverse. Because, that this shows that you're open and diverse because you're, shooting down a resolution that lets people know that. But anyway, so apparently one of the students who spoke up at this open meeting was gay, and so Corey Tomczyk called him a fag. Now, he claims, first off, he sued for defamation because the paper printed that. Because everybody around him said it was him who said that word. He sued for defamation because I guess the party of personal responsibility isn't really concerned about their personal responsibility. And his excuse is that he has a gay friend and that they joke around or he will admonish him by calling him a fag. Now, if true, first off, that's a big if. First off, I'm sure his friend saw what happened and probably decided, yeah, this isn't a joke between friends. I don't want anything to do with this person, or it's totally made up. But because bigots like to do this, they think hiding behind I have a gay best friend somehow shields you from any consequence to using anti-gay slurs, because somehow that's a thing. But he claims that, this is happening. Now, even if true, that is between him and his friend. I have a friend who, she and this other friend, my friend is black, her other friend is white, and she will call her honky, and her friend will call her the N-word. Perfectly legit, because they're both okay with it. Now, if I were to call my friend the N-word, and we don't have that relationship, she could justifiably be upset about it, because she never gave me permission to do that. And that's the thing. I do not care if you have a gay best friend and you call him a fag. The fact that you do that with your friend is perfectly fine. That doesn't mean you can do it with other people, because they never gave you permission. So, and this is if this story, he says, is even true. My guess is that it isn't true, or if it is, his friend doesn't like it, or he's self-loathing. That could always be a case too. But he sued this local paper for defamation. He lost the suit because the judge and the jury are actually people with working brains and understands that defamation is lying about somebody, not reporting what they actually said. And he admitted he said it. First he claimed he didn't say it, and then he admitted he said it and came up with that stupid story. But anyway, even though he lost the suit, this paper, which is a nonprofit paper that is just working on with donations, and I'm sure she gets grants, but it's not a lot of money, because apparently she's a 2-person organization, and they wanted to use the money that they had been getting to hire a third journalist. But now they have to pay legal fees, and it could potentially ruin this startup, this small company that's run by one woman. And for what? Because some asshole, it's not that he said fag. He doesn't give a shit that he called someone a fag, and a child at that. He only wants to punish this paper for reporting what he actually said, because that makes him look bad. I'm sorry, if you know that what you said is a bad word and that people in general are not going to like it, then why are you using it? Either you give a shit about the public, which he's our representative. Why would you not care about what your constituents think? But he just wants power. Because if he actually cared and actually realized, okay, this is a bad word, I shouldn't use it, instead of not using it, he decides that he's going to use it, but punish people who point out that he's not supposed to use the word because somehow that makes him not an asshole. Seriously, is it that you don't have a conscience and your conscience is other people, and as long as other people worship you, then you're not going to second guess anything, you're being a horrible person? It's just that if other people call you out, that then you'll start to feel bad. So in order not to feel bad, instead of changing yourself, you're going to try to force other people to worship you? Seriously, what is going on in today's Republican Party? Because this is not the only one. I have no idea what political affiliation that police chief is, but it would not surprise me if he was a Republican either. So police, press freedom is under attack. And this is just horrible. Why? Because if these people were really good people, they would have no reason to attack the press. Now, I've seen stories about this first paper where people are like, oh, I hope this paper goes down. They made my sister's business go under. Now, occasionally papers will publish misquotes, and in this day and age, I don't see how you could do that because you can record things. How can you misquote someone? But, if you're in a hurry or if, you mistyped something or whatever, that's why you should have editors, but still. Okay, I'll admit an occasional mistake will happen. But to blame a paper for someone else's business going under, how much is it the paper and how much is it of the business? Because there must have been something there. And the person who whined about it was a family member. So this person already has a bias. And I do know that a friend of mine, one friend of mine mentioned that another friend of mine was hosed by my local paper, by the one I was talking about, because they made it seem like a certain event happened twice as opposed to only one time, and so it made her look bad. Now, I'm completely innocent. I do not know what actually happened. I do trust this friend of mine, but maybe, maybe it was a mistake, or maybe there's something to it. We don't know. But still, to have government officials crack down on the press because they're writing a story you don't like, or they're shedding light on some bad behavior, you just can't do that. You cannot do that because most people want to know that which one of their officials is corrupt, is an asshole, is this, is that. People want to know this. Now, granted, there are some people who would find this to be a selling point. Oh, he calls gay people fags. Well, they deserve it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there are homophobes who are cheering on Corey Tomchak. I'm sure that there are residents, like I mentioned, who are cheering on the police chief. But, and this is the important thing, it's fine to cheer them on when they're on seemingly your side and they're attacking the same people you want attacked, that you don't like. But if you start down that road, eventually they're going to find a reason to come after you. It's it's the old joke that I didn't know that the leopards were going to eat my face. The voter who voted for the leopards eating people's faces party said. It's the same thing. It's also it's appropriate to point out the Holocaust poem. I'm not going to reiterate it because the Holocaust poem strictly is about killing people. We haven't gotten to that point yet. And I stress yet because what's happening with the migrants, yeah, we might as well be there. But yes, we have to protect press freedoms because if these bad actors are allowed to get away with this and destroy the free press, then they're going to be able to be horrible people and nobody's ever going to know it until that horribleness is directed at you. And then where are you going to be? So, like it or not, we need a free press because yes, today the bad guys might be on your side because you're this horrible person just as much as they are, but eventually they're probably going to turn their sights on you. Not necessarily. Depending on who you are, you might actually get out of it unscathed. But a good amount of people that think that these horrible people are on their side, no, it's just momentary. They're going to turn against you. But anyway, now I'm rambling. So I will see you guys in the next video.